Karl sought information for a living. That is to say that ever since he returned from Korea, after having served with the armed forces, he had been working as a private investigator in Montreal. William Hamilton, a rich industrialist, had gotten in touch with him regarding a simple vandalism issue. Nothing to write home about. Not worth hiring a private eye either, just so he can drive for hours on rough roads. But that's how it had always been. The client pays, Karl gets it done. They had set up to meet at the general store, his client's business. Well, actually, the entire village had William Hamilton's name written all over it. When the roads were bad, muddy, or snowed in, it was customary around these parts to close them off. But it was also customary to ignore those signs entirely and drive there anyway. Hamilton never mentioned a road-blocking barrier. Why was it needed here in the back of Beyond? That would, however, be a mystery for another day. Karl had waited long enough for someone to come and raise it. Hamilton no doubt knew who managed the barrier. Karl wanted to give him a call, but that would have been too easy though, as sure enough the line was acting up. The cutters made quick work of the chain. What better way to investigate vandals than to get into their shoes, Karl, the professional vandal, thought, reveling in the irony of the situation. Hamilton is waiting for Karl in the general store. It was time for him to get down to business. Hamilton enjoyed a lavish country house built in the very heart of the northern forests, not too far from here. The local populace was divided when it came to the affluent man. Some saw a wealthy philanthropist dedicated to improving the region's economy. Others an aging Englishman who would do anything to further his fortunes. And those ones hated him enough to go on about scheming against him. Hamilton had recently acquired a few local businesses, but the last straw was the reopening of a mine, which gave rise to a wave of protests and threats from the Cree people. Given these circumstances, Karl reckoned that a good number of people must be feeling compelled to oppose Hamilton in one way or another. So far, only the industrialist's house had been a target, but soon enough, Karl thought, the target would become the man himself. Karl needed to get out of there. The cold and the pain required urgent care. The driver had taken off. It was still best to check it out and leave nothing to chance. Karl needed help. It was a small, locked box engraved with the letters WH. Karl thought about taking it. Nothing was to be left to chance. This deep in the country, his last hope was to find an abandoned garage or a farm by the roadside. His life depended on it. Scratches did not stop Karl. His mother would be so proud. It was so cold. Already Karl did not feel his toes anymore. The Polaroid, Karl's long-standing and faithful ally, had seen its share of husbands caught red-handed cheating. There's always something out there waiting to be snapped away. Karl, ever diligent in his work, always carried his log on him, in which he scribbled down thoughts and leads alike during the course of his investigations. Spread out on a few acres of untouched forest, bellowing caribou, everlasting snow, and undefiled lakes, the Manistan region was no tourist hub. It was said to have been populated for millennia by Cree people, and ever since the industrial era, by the metal mining industry. Jean-Luc Bédard had without a doubt been the closest man in the village to William Hamilton, otherwise known as Uncle Willie. The truck was running on fumes. Good thing that the general store was close by. Surrender their divine nectar so easily. In all likelihood, they had to be switched on from inside the store. Something fell to the bottom of the box. Karl had no trouble recognizing his employer. He had been killed. There was no need to be a detective to figure that out. But only a detective could have noticed that the killer had to have been very close, that the fatal blow had been given before the victim even realized. The snowstorm pummeled everything in its path. Karl was not surprised when he heard no tone. Karl knew that Gilles Lachance was in charge of the general store. That made him one of Hamilton's employees. A very angry employee, as Karl could plainly see. Maintaining his composure, Karl recalled something from his military training. Wolves always stay away from populated areas. Wait, was it about bears? Staring intently at the controls won't be enough to make that lift budge. The poor thing was out of power. The note explained that the garage and the store couldn't be supplied with electricity at the same time. What could be inside that envelope? Karl was taken aback. He knew this address. It was said to be the address of the P.O. box for the Canadian Secret Service. A radiator without power is as good as a wood stove without logs. The murder weapon. What was that doing there, Karl wondered. Hamilton must have been determined to keep some information secret to post this key. Shame he got unlucky. Everything made sense now. Poor Hamilton's denunciation was interrupted, and he figured it would be best to lock everything up and send the key to his correspondent, who would receive the box later on. Clever, but not enough. That's what happens to ordinary people playing spy. The punks wouldn't surrender their divine nectar so easily. In all likelihood, they had to be switched on from inside the store. Karl felt a chill down his spine and had a terrifying realization. If Hamilton was dead, then who was going to pay him? The place needed to be secured. The killer had to be found, and fast. What if Gilles Lachance had turned words into deeds? Karl felt that the store and its surroundings still held their secrets, and he didn't like to miss out.